another episode of Lie, Cheat, and Steal, the podcast about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. I'm your host, Pat Soroyce. Before we get started, just want to let you know that we are a bi-monthly podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at LCS Podcast and on TikTok at Lie, Cheat, and Steal Podcast. Also, as of yesterday morning, on Instagram at Lie, Cheat, and Steal Podcast. Also, we are on YouTube. Just look up Lie, Cheat, and Steal. It'll bring it to us. Again, my name is Pat Soroyce. With me, as always, my co-host, Kath Barbadoro. Kath, how you doing?
Hello. I have more plugs. I want to plug our Patreon. We have a Patreon where we do 2 more episodes a month. Patreon.com/onetimepod. We do 2 free, 2 just for our subscribers. So definitely check that out.
Actually, that's Lie, Cheat, Steal Pod. No, you said one at a time, but also go to one at a time too.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I'm so used to doing, I have 2 podcasts. It's patreon.com/lie, cheat, and steal. But hey, if you subscribe to the other one, I get some money from that too. I get less money from that because there are less people though. So subscribe to this one. Yeah. Because this one I get $2.50, and the other one I only get $1.
Oh yeah, for sure, guys. Yeah. Make sure you do that accordingly. We are actually recording. As you'll notice, listeners of the show won't hear anything. If you're watching us on YouTube, we are in a brand new studio space here with the man Josh Cabaz. What's the name of the studio, Josh?
Comedy Frequency.
Comedy Frequency. This is where you'll be seeing our mugs for the indefinite future. That being said, we have a guest on the show tonight, which we don't do a lot. It's usually me and Kath in our own little sandbox talking about bullshitters. But we have friend of the show, longtime friend of the Austin comedy scene, great guy, General Zac Brooks.
Hi, Zach.
Thank you. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on. We're gonna have you on today. We don't do guest stars a lot. But me and you were hanging out the other night, and we started talking about some figures that I was like, we need to cover these guys.
Yeah. We got real drunk one night.
And Zach told me about some just Titanic figures. I see the Titanic, we're into that. But just some giant figures from the early days of like Texas gambling and just lawlessness back in like the turn of the century.
Oh, and love a historical episode, love a Texas episode.
Yeah.
Very good. I feel like no better person to come talk to us about lawless, larger than life Texas figures than Texas's own. Born and bred, if I'm not mistaken, Zac Brooks.
Yeah, Zac Brooks. I'm thinking of calling this series. We have a few other guys we want to cover in the upcoming episodes, but I'm calling it Texas Crooks with Zac Brooks.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah. So Zach, thanks for coming on, man. So you told me about this guy. Give us I'll get into it, but what drew you into these characters that we're about to start discussing?
I read a book about a guy named Benny Binion, who
amazing name.
Yes,
Benny Binion.
He was like late 1800s, early 1900s when he was like in Dallas, like running dice games and stuff like that. And then he was the first guy to like bring poker to Las Vegas. So he opened the Horseshoe Casino in Las Vegas. But I was reading that, and they kept talking about this guy, Titanic Thompson. I was like, I need to figure out more about this guy. And this guy's story is insane. Like the stuff he used to do is.
Yeah, you were telling us stories about we're gonna get into more of this in a little bit, but like he would do these proposition bets, just these insane wagers that he may have had a little thumb on the scale. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of times.
As a non-sports gambler, like every once in a while, I'll throw, when they have like a promo for people who aren't addicted to gambling, I will throw a little bit of money into DraftKings. Because like, if you don't use it all the time, they'll give you like, $50 in free bets or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'll get on there. And like, I know I do not watch sports. I know I barely understand like the bet beyond just betting the money line on who's winning or losing. I like don't even know what's happening. But I love a prop bet because you don't need to know anything.
Right.
And it's very silly.
Yes.
So like I wish there were dumber prop bets allowed on sports gambling sites because that's my shit. So I love a wacky prop bet. I'm in.
Oh yeah, there's tons of those. I mean, when the Super Bowl comes up, you can bet on what color Snoop Dogg's shoes are going to be. Or
blue. I'm putting everything on blue.
Everything on blue.
That's what I think.
I bet last year in the Super Bowl, I bet that Snoop Dogg was going to smoke weed on stage. This might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah.
Did he get caught smoking weed right before he went up?
So they honored the bet because there was a picture of Snoop Dogg coming on
Yeah.
stage. Like, all
Like
right,
right
I
as
guess,
he.
uh-huh.
There you go.
I'd like to be part of like the 0.01% of the nation that was mad about that. Like, what the hell?
Come on. He
Come
wasn't
on,
on
yeah.
stage yet.
God, his performance is gonna be all off, because he's gonna be high.
I gotta get wherever you guys are betting. Is this among people or is this on like an app? Because
Oh,
on
I
the
did
apps,
this-
it's like
I did
it's
this
like
when I
coin
was
tosses only.
I did this when I was in New Orleans, so I just did it.
Nice. Yeah.
You could just do it online or at the casino or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen but
The only sport I know about is pro wrestling, which you can't bet on because it's all fake. So like the fact like someone knows it already, so you're not allowed to bet on it, which bums me out.
Yeah,
I think you
right?
should be. I'll take that risk. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't know about it.
It's like when
Fine, whatever.
Krusty bet on the Washington Generals. It's like,
Sure.
yeah, they were due.
They haven't won one yet.
Well, the guy we're talking about today is the king of that style of betting, and I would say revolution. I don't even know if revolutionize is the right word, but just set a standard that will probably never be achieved.
Yeah.
In terms of what you can do with a proposition bet, we are talking today about Alvin Clarence Thomas, aka Titanic Thompson. Let's get right into it. So,
No relation to the other Clarence Thomas. I'm
no,
assuming?
not at all.
Perhaps?
Noticeable lack of a familial connection. Like if you could just do a side by side, you could pretty easily determine they're not related.
Okay.
So Alvin Clarence Thomas, better known as Titanic Thompson, was an American gambler, proposition bettor, card shark, golfer, confidence man, and all-around hustler who from his birth in 1938 until his death in 1974 traveled the country hustling hundreds, perhaps thousands of unsuspecting marks out of an estimated $10 million or nearly $100 million in today's money. Got very
right.
wealthy.
Wait, Pat, I think I gotta come in correct. I think he was born in 1908.
1908, what did I say, 2008?
1938.
1938. Oh, okay. Yeah, 1908. I apologize. 1908, folks. I was like, how bad did I fuck up? Was I 1,000 years off? He was born in the year 4000.
Now you fucked up even more. Do you think 1908 and 2008 are 4,000 years apart?
Yeah, I'm just
1,000 years
spiraling
apart?
right now. I left my math part of my brain at work. So whether it was pool, poker, golf, or any number of his absolutely brilliant proposition bets, Titanic Thompson had an almost supernatural ability to come out on top in just about every wager he ever made. And his ability to sink damn near every opponent he came across inspired one onlooker to exclaim that he should be called Titanic, a reference, of course, to the infamous shipwreck, which had just happened. So that was like calling a guy like 9/11
Wow.
Jones.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Just
like-
right away.
Exactly. He's
No
gonna.
sensitivity.
He's gonna because you get your first tower hit. You're not ready for that second one because he gets both of them.
So Titanic, or Ty, as he was known to friends and associates, was a fiercely intelligent, lifelong student of gambling, and he possessed not just a near computer-like understanding of odds and probability, but also a natural athletic ability, dexterity, and hand-eye coordination that made him pretty much uniquely skilled to dream up like incredible feats and then perform them with ease, much to the displeasure of anyone foolish enough to bet him that he couldn't do it. So these talents led him to rub shoulders and eventually swindle the biggest names in sports, gambling, and even the criminal underworld, including gangsters such as Arnold Rothstein and even Al Capone himself. So the man, gonna get into this, the man truly a product of the golden age of crime, Titanic Thompson.
Okay, so I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have to correct myself. All right, and it's also wrong on the notes here too. It's 1893 he was born.
1893.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, we got it down now.
Yeah. I just got swindled like through history by this guy. He's hard to pin
People
down.
are just like people are writing articles about him. They're going, it's something old.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, this seems like a guy with multiple birth certificates. So who
Sure.
knows?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And his name, so if you notice, I called him Alvin Clarence Thomas, but we're calling him Titanic Thompson. The Thompson part just happened by accident. A newspaper misprinted his name, and he was
That's
the kind of
correct.
guy that was like, you know what, that's not the worst thing for a guy in my trade.
Yeah, just for
Yeah.
everyone to think my name is something else than it
Yeah,
actually is.
yeah.
That's
great.
like
Bring it on.
Net Warlaw. Do you remember Net
Yes,
Warlaw?
yeah,
the
yeah.
Indian guy. He did this. He did the same thing. Like they confused him with another like con artist, and he was just like, "Well, that's helpful." Thanks," and rolled with it.
So yeah, I was in 1893 in Monette, Missouri, November 30th. I got that down. He was born November 30th, so he's got somebody's got a birthday coming up. But he was born Alvin Clarence Thomas. His father, Lee Thomas, was a professional gambler who abandoned Lee's mother shortly after Alvin was born. Alvin's family lived in abject poverty, and they soon relocated to rural Arkansas, where Alvin supported his family by hunting and fishing. This is back when you'd be 12 years old and you got to go hunt to feed the family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And he was a crack shot for a young boy. He was skilled as a fisher, too. However, he lacked a decent pole. And it was perhaps this want for a better rod and reel that led him to come up with a scheme that would inform the direction of his life. The proposition bet. Now, Zach, this is kind of where our story begins, because this, I think, was the first thing you told me about this guy.
Yeah.
When we were hanging out that night. And just about him seeing a guy with a real nice fishing pole. So I'm going to let you tell us about that.
Yeah. So he was. So when they moved to Arkansas, he would kill pheasants with rocks and quail and stuff.
Brutal.
And not not all the time, but 3 nights out of the week, he's bringing home birds with rocks that he threw at him. And so his uncles got together and they got him a .22 rifle, and he would shoot cows right in the middle of the head, 50 yards away.
Yeah, if you're that successful with a rock, you're gonna be unstoppable with a rifle.
And that's the thing about this guy. He was not only a really great hustler gambler, but he was just physically inclined when it came to everything that he
good
did.
at stuff.
Tall, thin, never drank, never smoked, was just in peak physical condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he had this hustle that he liked to do there was nearest town, there's a small fishing pond that was popular. A lot of people would go there. And he had this hustle that he would do on people. He had a dog that always followed him around, and he taught the dog how to fetch rocks out of the pond. He would throw a rock in, the dog would come back with a rock, whatever. And there's a specific story about this. He did this for a couple years, but he's I think he's 11 or 12 at this time. And he sees a guy out there, and this guy's got real nice fishing waders and a rod, and he does the hustle as he did every time. He goes up, he throwing rocks into the pond. The dog's coming back. The guy goes, "Oh, that's a real impressive dog you got there." He goes, "Yeah, he can bring back the exact rock I throw out there. He brings the same rock back every time." The guy's like, "Oh, well, that okay.
Well, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're an idiot." So he bets him his .22 rifle that he brought with him for his fishing gear that his dog can bring back that exact rock. And the guy goes, "Well, you got to mark the rock first." And he goes, "Okay, all right, give me the rock. I'll mark it." And he puts an X on it, and he throws it out there. Dog goes out there, comes back with the rock. Sure enough, it's got an X on it. The guy goes, "Wow, all right, well, that's one special dog or an impressive trick." And just kind of blows it off, he can just kind of walk away from this kid that he made a bet with. And Titanic pulls the gun on him. And he's like, and that's how it was back then. It's you made a wager, sir.
Yeah.
Honor it.
Yeah. Are you good for your word or not?
Yeah. I hope you're Annie Oakley with that fishing pole, because you're about to fucking need it.
Yeah. But what that guy didn't know, and he did get the fishing gear, what that guy didn't know is that Titanic for years had just been swimming in that pond, picking out every rock that didn't have an X.
Damn.
He's putting an X. Every rock in the pond, it was a small fishing goal, had an X on it. Because he'd been doing it for years. He started when he was 7. He's 12. The dog's bringing back a rock with an X on it. You know what I mean? But it's that type of... So that's the thing about proposition bets that are fun. If you Google prop bets today, you're just going to get sports gambling stuff. It's going to be player prop bets. You're betting something's going to happen, or a player's going to do something that the outcome of the game doesn't affect that bet at all,
Right.
So it gets
I watched
silly.
Nicky sit there fucking on the edge of his seat. He's like, "I don't care who wins. That guy needs to hit a home run before the 7th inning."
Doesn't matter. Yeah. The main thing is whatever happens in the game, whoever wins, whoever loses, doesn't matter. You're saying this guy's going to score 10 points, or this guy's not going to score 10 points, or you're doing something like that. And prop bets get as silly as the color of Snoop Dogg's shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. What do the jersey numbers add up to?
Right.
That's one
Yeah.
that I've bet on before on DraftKings for sure.
Yeah, and they're fun and they're silly. But back in the day, they gambled on golf, horses or whatever, and baseball maybe. But the experienced gamblers, the ones that would be out on the road, they would love to just do like, I'm going to proposition that you can't do this or you can do this.
Right.
And they're amongst friends or, maybe some rich, dumb people. But there's this whole thing that goes into it. There's a premeditated part of it where there's a hustle factor of it. And it's kind of like even when people know that you hustled them, they have to honor it. Because that was just the times. It was just like, you shook on it.
Yeah, it's legally binding.
Yeah, like there's a lot of
It's like I'm reminded, you said New Orleans, and I remember Joe Hafke, friend of the show, literally got taken with this once and was so mad, and we all made fun of him so much, where a guy was like, I'll bet you $20 I can tell you where you got your shoes. And he was like, no, you can't. You absolutely can't. And the guy was like, on your feet. Give me $20. And he was like, you motherfucker. And
that's classic.
It's a classic. It's a classic. He started telling the story. We were like, we all know where this is going, man. You got fucked.
It's
a known the one guy who didn't know.
Yeah. It's a known thing of like, if your naive friends going to New Orleans, like, don't tell a guy where you got your, don't do the shoes thing.
Don't bet.
But there's
any
no
random
way he could know where I got
anything.
them. Yeah, there's thousands of shoe stores out there. There's no way he can name the specific place.
Yeah.
I'm walking out of this bitch $20 light or $20 heavier, man. Come on.
Yeah, and there's like there's fun, like this is one that Titanic would do sometimes, and it's one that anybody could do, and it just has to do with that
Use
doesn't
it in your own life.
Yeah, well, so like there's a bet like Pat, we could go out. We're downtown right now, so I bet you, Pat, that we could go outside, and we could ask 30 people what their birthday is. 2 of them are going to have the same birthday.
Yeah. So statistically, it's probably going to happen, but it seems like unlikely.
I mean,
right? You think it should be like 2 in 365. Like you should have to ask. You know what I mean? But it's like 30. It's really
if you get
weird.
30 people together, it's almost like I think it's like a 90%. It's probability that 2 of them have. When you get to like 20 people, it's like 70-something%, and then that extra 10 makes it almost like a guaranteed.
Oh shit.
Yeah. The 10's just for insurance.
Yeah.
But like you could do that.
That's like, or ask somebody, I've seen this one, like, would you want to rather take $1 million or a penny doubled or it's like $100,000 or a penny doubled every day for 30 days, and like the penny doubled every day goes up like $500,000 or some shit like that. Yeah.
Another famous one.
I remember learning the birthday thing in second grade. I remember which is weird because it's like second graders can't understand the math that makes that possible. I don't know why we were talking about it, but maybe to safeguard us against scams like this. Maybe that's why.
And your second grade teacher just gotten taken for the fucking shoe line, and she was like, "I gotta mold a generation of kids,
inoculate these kids." Anyway, you're gonna tell us another one.
There's another one that is just apparently a fact, but you bet somebody they can't eat quail every day for a month because you can't do it.
You just like physically can't, or you can't find that much quail?
There's something weird in quail meat that you cannot eat it every day for 30 days. Like people give up like 14, 15.
Oh shit.
Interesting.
The only instance I heard of it working was another guy, Amro Slim, who I think we're going to do an episode
we'll
about.
do an episode about him.
He hired these 2 identical twins to swap out who's eating quail. One would eat quail for 3 days, the other would eat. And everybody took the action because they knew for a fact that nobody can eat quail for 30 days straight. And
what other weird stuff used to be common knowledge that we've lost?
Yeah, so right.
Like,
Well,
you'd make this bet and everyone would be like, of course no one can eat quail for 30 days.
This is amongst people who are all like poker players and gamblers, so they know about the
weird odds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a tidbit of knowledge you learn. Like you live sitting on a porch for like a month and a half, and you're just like playing cards. It's just like it's that kind of knowledge.
If you can find a sucker,
that's interesting though that he's swindling other kind of hustlers with this.
Yeah,
he's going after like a tough demo.
He's like the Dexter of prop bettors.
Oh, that's most of it. That's a lot of it. It's a lot of him. It's a lot of them trying to get each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of that.
Well, because they probably know who has the money to keep up with this kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? They can't just walk out the places. They get like a huge return.
Absolutely, yeah.
Also, you know how mad I'd be if I fucking saw those 2 twins, like if I caught them both together and one was eating like potato salad, I'd be like, motherfucker.
Yeah. And if they would have caught him in the middle of it, the bet would have been lost. But the fact
right.
Yeah.
Damn. That's to say, well, yeah, that's the kind of knowledge this kid was putting together, going out in the world armed with.
Yeah.
But I guess he didn't really start it. It didn't. He had the knack for it, but he had to go on the road to learn. So at around age 16, he kind of decided that he was. At age 16, but this is like 1902. You might as well be 40 years old. Like you should have left home a year and a half ago.
He probably looked like our age.
Yeah.
You know? Like he had done some hard living.
Yeah. So he began to feel like he was outgrowing his place in his stepfather's home. So he decided to strike out on his own at the age of 16. And at this point, his mother made him promise to never drink or smoke, and he never did. So this is one of those things where, like, you ever meet like a comedian who's hilarious and they're stone cold sober, and you're like, I fucking hate you, man.
I cannot relate.
Yeah. This is like one of those guys where they're like completely a well-adjusted normal person, and they're also just insanely good at stuff. So
that is always weird when someone like doesn't really have like the personality or sort of like the value system of a comedian. They just are really funny.
Yeah.
Like they're like very traditional and normal in every other way, except that they're like very funny.
Yeah. It's my, because I'm like, how all this shit comes from pain, man. Where are you finding this? You know, I did all this from hurt. So Alvin had a vague idea of tracking down his father. He's like, maybe I'll use this as time to track down my father, the mysterious Lee Thomas, who had left him with nothing but a name. He traveled through Missouri, working at first as a door-to-door map salesman. Which would be fun, just open it up and like, do you know where I am, man? Boom, right here. At your door, giving you the deal of a lifetime. So he was a door-to-door.
Well, that's a wonderful marketing play. You give people a free map to the map store.
Yeah. It's
Come
got a
check
big
it
X
out.
on it. Yeah,
you're right. You are here. I already marked it where you are at.
So yeah, then he joined up as part of a traveling medicine show, which this is like, it seems like the bright place for this dude to just get cooked in scamming. It was like one of those like fake ass Buffalo Bill Western shows. And he would go around. One trick he developed during the show was the trick of throwing $1 in the air and shooting a hole in it. That was his big fucking thing out there.
That's dope.
Yeah, well, he did this by palming an intact dollar, throwing up one pre-hold and shooting to miss. Nobody ever caught on. But at each stop, he supplemented his income playing cards, growing to realize, his just how much money his skill could make him. So the skill was not entirely legitimate. The young Alvin had developed his own system of marking cards with his fingernails that none of the people he was playing with ever really seemed to catch on to. Which they said he had a distinct mark that he would make, and I was like, how would you do that on the fly? But yeah, it would be like crease it with your fingernail.
Basically, he would just be making a mark with his fingernail. Yeah, and
just a little indentation.
Yeah, and his eyesight was also incredible. I mean, this dude was just like a robot almost. But yeah, he even card markers, people who did that couldn't detect the marks that he was making because he practiced all of this so much. It was all, his whole life was swimming in a pond putting X's on rocks. It's
training.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, they would say there was like times where he would just be throwing cards into a hat. And so we were like, what are you doing? Like, practicing. Because he's like, eventually there's some guy's going to come along and I'll bet $500 I can't hit 51 out of 52 of these fucking things, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So this is one detail we got to get into about this guy. I saw one of the articles I read about him. It said, Titanic Thompson, the man who killed 5 men and married 5 women.
Yes.
And I was like, weird, wild numbers, but also not really the most interesting part about Titanic Thompson. I feel like this guy really missed he really buried the lead there. But he did, he was not, all of it was justified. It was all deemed self-defense, the 5 guys he killed. But
he never got charged with murder. Yeah,
never got charged with murder.
It is like, it's not the most important thing about him, but it is a cool headstone.
Yeah. Married 5 women, killed 5 men. Yeah. Like he just had to karmically balance it out. He's like, I got to. If I kill another man, I got to divorce this broad and marry another one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get into heaven.
Yeah.
You got to marry a woman for every man you kill.
The women thing wasn't as great either.
They weren't. They weren't
they were all like teenagers.
He had a real Elvis nose for it. Yeah.
It was like the early 19. It was like, he was shaking the dad's hand and whatever.
Nobody was mad at him about it. It was
17-year-old girl going. Life expectancy was like 30. So, you know what I mean?
It's like she might as well be 60 at that point.
But also not ideal.
Not ideal. Yeah, definitely a product of his time. But it was in 1910 that Alvin first killed a man. He had been playing Joe Green, the owner of a riverboat named the Rambler, at dice, and eventually Joe was deep enough in the hole that he put the deed to the boat on the table.
Yep.
Alvin won and offered to let Joe stay on board working for him. It's like, yeah, you can stick around, mop the rest of this shit up. You won.
Yep, it's my boat now.
Putting out cigarettes on the
Look at
fucking
me.
table and shit. Take care of that.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
I beat you in dice because I practiced how to roll them exactly correct.
That was another thing. They said he had a way to roll it, which we've shot dice before. I just go. You know what I'm saying?
We have
we've shot a lot of dice.
We have put in maybe a month or two straight in our lifetimes of me and you shooting dice.
Just shooting dice. Yeah.
Yes, very hard to do.
Who's better at shooting dice between the two of you?
We're both bad at it.
Yeah,
Both bad at it?
Somebody
else ends up taking both of our money.
Yeah, this is how it goes, man. There's no skill. It's just, do you have the stack to stay in?
Yeah.
If you got the stack to keep rolling, eventually you'll win. Yeah. And I bring the story up all the time. One time, me and you were going back and forth, and I was up. And I was like, am I about to walk out of this motherfucking place with all the Zach's money? And we're getting, because I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to like get halfway up and then leave. So we played out to what I thought was the end. And I was like, I think I just won all the money. And you just reached in the armchair and pulled out the ones. I was like, oh, damn it. Yeah, the ones are back.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, Pat. You're not going to play me for my ones. You're just going to take my 20s.
It was still a good night, but it wasn't what it was was the ones.
That's true.
That changed.
I did climb out of a hole a little bit with those. I was due.
Well, exactly. It's how long you can stay in. And so eventually this guy wins this riverboat. He wins the Rambler from Joe Green. And Joe agreed to stay on the boat to work, which I would have been like, hell no, I'm out of here. I'm not going to watch you cuck my boat.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch you steer it around.
I'm not going to be an employee on my own boat. Like, absolutely not.
Putting cheating hands all over its fine wooden steering wheel. I'm not gonna bear witness to that. So Joe agreed, but on their first trip, he invited a friend of his named Jim Johnson to come along.
Yeah, sketchy.
Yeah. Alvin and Jim diced, and Jim accused Alvin of cheating. Now, whether that was true or not, and here's what people think, is that this dude Joe went and got his big ass buddy Jim and was like, "Hey, come, let's turn this table, get on the riverboat. We'll say he cheated. It's the age of honor. You can kill the guy,
Yeah.
So Jim had been asked, So whether he was there for good reasons or not, irrelevant. The fight ended with both of them going over to the river, but Alvin managed to catch Jim with a blow to the head with a hammer before they went in. So he got hammered right before they hit the water. So Alvin came back
decisive.
up. Yeah, Jim was not swimming out of the drink after that.
There's another element that too, where I think his wife was with him on the boat.
That's what it was. He was being rude to his girl.
So like the guy beat
his child bride. Was
was offended. He defended.
How dare you swear in front of my child and wife?
The dice thing was like the start of it, and then the guy started being like, he got him. Hit him in the head with the hammer.
Right. Why don't you wager the little lady there? Something creepy like that. Yeah, I've been in a situation.
Don't talk to my child, bride.
Oh man. So and so eventually though, but the local sheriff was corrupt and was like, "Hey man, we can make all this go away if you would just, I don't know, hand me over the deed to the boat."
The sheriff wants the boat. Everybody wants this boat.
Yeah. This must have been a nice ass boat.
Source of and solution to all problems.
Like to quote Bill Burr, you don't want to own a boat. You want to be friends with the guy that owns the boat.
That's right.
That's the
100%.
route.
There's too much maintenance.
This is what happens when you own a boat. It's fucking multiple homicides. Yeah.
Every summer in New York, I think about how that is like. I really like living here, but that is one of my greatest failures. That I don't know anyone with a boat. I really am fucking up.
Yeah. What would they? Yeah, you gotta make some Long Island friends, Kev.
Yeah. Just go out there, take a swim, see if you run into anybody.
I can. You can hang out with my ex-manager that lives on Long Island. He's a hell of a guy.
You just pretend like you're drowning, and then when you get, you're like, what do y'all got to drink? What are y'all doing over here?
Yeah.
And then pull you on the boat. You're like, does anybody have a White Claw?
Need to revive you.
Is there an aux cord? How are we doing the music on this thing? Thanks for saving me, guys. You guys are the best. Anyway.
We're going to steal one of your smokes real quick.
I'm going to go tan on the starboard side, but...
You guys are heading back like now, right? I'm not in a rush.
I'm not in a rush. I'm hanging out. I just got here.
I thought I was going to be out there all day, so technically I'm ahead of schedule, so we can hang. So in 1911, though, Alvin finally caught up with his father, Lee. He found Lee dealing a poker game in Louisiana, and Alvin joined the game. He refused to give his name until the end of the night, by which point he won $1,600, which I looked it up. It's something like 20 grand or like, I think it's more than that. It's like 90 grand. It's insane. Yeah, he took
$1,600 in the 20s is wild.
It sounds like this is a hereditary trait.
It really does.
As a poker game.
There's something about like they talk about like gamblers being addicted to risk, and I would imagine that like aversion to risk or like comfort with risk is genetic. So like I can imagine that being something that's passed down. So yeah, that's insane.
It's just interesting that really is evidenced by the fact that he met his dad there. Like clearly this was something. I don't know how successful his dad was at it. Maybe he was like the overachieving next generation from his dad's dreams. Right?
It's definitely that situation. And by the way, his dad left I'm talking he was born. He came back from the poker room that night, and he was already born. And then he rolled out the next morning.
Oh,
he was
gone.
Yeah,
Jesus
he was
Christ.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, damn. Well, yeah. So after he won the $1,600, which I want to say I looked at it was like somewhere between 80 to 90 grand. That's like an insane amount of money. Only then did he reveal himself to be Lee's son, and he gave back the money.
Yeah.
And then Alvin actually hung around with his father for a while. I saw one that was a little more romanticized, where it's like he walked out and never talked to him again. But apparently he actually hung out with him for a little bit.
Yes.
But soon realized that the type of man who ran out on his son was the same type of man who would steal money from his son's bankroll while he slept.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This is like that back in the day version of like opening credit cards in your kid's name.
Yeah,
you know?
I've got some friends
fucking up their credit before you're even of age.
I've got some friends with some beloved patriarch and matriarch grandfathers who are just real with it. They're like, oh, I love Nana to death. I would never leave my credit card around her. There's folks out there like that. But so Alvin said goodbye, walked out of his father's life forever in the spring of 1912. It was that year that he earned the nickname Titanic, one fateful evening after he won a bet that he could jump clear across a pool table.
Yeah.
Which everything I've seen this is like, you think that's crazy, look at it. And to not touch it and get all the way the fuck across it, that is insane. I couldn't jump across this table. I can't.
No, absolutely not.
Is this okay? That like crazy regardless, but is this like from the ground?
Okay. Yeah.
Jumping over to this guy, as you said, this guy's a robot. This guy is a Terminator for gambling. This is crazy.
Yeah. So he walked into the pool hall and had already taken everybody's money, and he's like a teenager. And the pool hall owner was real stoked on his brand new 9-foot pool table, which is, at bars, those are like little bar boxes, are like 7 foot. Then your standard's like 8 foot. He had a brand new 9-foot
XL.
Yeah, XL king size pool table.
Yeah, it was a water bed somehow as well.
It's horrible to play on.
Memory foam pool table. Just awful investment.
But as he's leaving, he's already taken everybody's money. He sees the sign that is offering anybody $500 if they can jump over his new pool table. And he's like, I'll do it. And they were like, all right.
Wait, I always envisioned this as like a devise of his own mind.
Nope.
This one guy was like, can't nobody dive over this motherfucking pool table. He dug his own grave.
Yeah, the guy was doing that. He so much so that he had like a sign. I mean, people back then that like pool hustlers, poker players, those types of dudes, they were taking action on anything.
Yeah,
they were constantly betting on like which way a bird's gonna fly off of a branch, or you know what I mean.
Yeah,
they didn't
these
care.
People were addicts.
Yes, they were getting after it. Yeah,
I wouldn't
I'm gonna
even
throw
imagine
noodles at the wall. How many stick? It was so this guy had a sign up that was like anybody who can do it because my pool table's so new and big.
I wouldn't even. That's the crazy. Like, I wouldn't even make that connection. Like it'd be like something be like, I got a new car. Can't nobody fuck it. Like I just don't know where it would be like jump over plus pool table.
Jump over.
Yeah, where that like
pool
that
table
in his head.
Already a thing people gamble on.
It's
like an extra.
Yeah. He was trying to get some jumpers out there that weren't there before, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, the guy was like, he had said that, like it was an advertising thing of like, if you can do it, I'll give you $500 because it's the biggest table in here. And the way,
which he says, which to be clear is about $40,000 in today's money.
Right, exactly. It's some ridiculous, But the way that he did it was, he was like, I'll do it. And they're like, all right, well, I guess, you can try. And he goes over to, he's got all this money in his pocket from the pool hall. He goes over to a nearby motel. He buys a mattress off of them. and then he comes back in and he sets it on the other side of the pool table. And the way he does it is he just runs at it, and then he does like a parkour front move. You know what I mean? Like tuck and roll.
Like a dive.
Like a dive and then a somersault onto the mattress.
Hell yeah.
Fuck
And
yeah.
that's how he cleared it. Yeah.
That rocks.
So for one glorious moment,
Yeah.
he was just above the pool table, just like
Torpedo style.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, somebody AI photo, man jumping over pool table, completely narrow, 1910s attire. Like,
Yeah, what era is this? Like the teens? Like
So
the
this is
late teens,
1912.
I guess, at this point?
This is 1912.
1912.
Yeah, so he's like 15 at this point. Like,
Well, it was
he
1893.
Okay, so he's a little older.
Yeah, he's like 20. He's like 20,
18.
20 years old. Yeah. Oh, 18. Yeah. Fuck.
And yeah, I mean, to jump clear across a pool table and not touch it, I'm talking long ways. You know what I mean? That's very hard to do.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that they let him do it, is because they go, okay, well, if he does make it, he's gonna fuck himself up as soon as he lands. You're just coming in so hot on the other side of that. And that's why he was like, you didn't say I couldn't buy a mattress and fucking somersault roll into it.
Like, oh man, I was thinking about putting the mattress part up there, but it ruined the flow of the side.
I didn't make it a stipulation, and
you're like when you write a happy birthday card to start out with a big H, you know, like
back in the day, those signs had to be hand painted. They had charged by the character.
Yeah.
The mattress caveat. The mattress caveat would have cost you $500 alone, right there. Yeah, so
right,
he was,
exactly.
Yep.
Well, yeah. So this is at this point, somebody goes. Because this is the 1912. 1912. This is how people talk back then. Somebody goes, "What is that fella's name?" And some guy goes, "I don't know, but it should be Titanic because he sinks everybody." And somebody was like, "Hey, my kid died on that."
Yeah, it literally just happened. That was really, which it does come in, like you said before, like 9/11 Jim.
Hell yeah.
That's my name.
Yeah. They call me Billy Ariana Grande concert.
Yep.
So the name stuck, even though, or perhaps, he was actually skinny as a rake. So that's like what's kind of funny. He had some height on him, but he was like rail thin.
He's pretty skinny.
Pretty skinny guy. So it's Titanic Thompson. And that gets shortened to Ty, as he started calling himself Ty. And at that point, he starts getting into the big time. He goes to Joplin, Missouri, which is probably the biggest city in America at the time. Who knows? But Ty was hired by a local banker to teach a group of card sharks who had fleeced him a lesson. So Ty cheated the cheats and then seduced himself to the banker's daughter. Like, just was I'll win your little bet for you. I'm also going to have sex with your daughter.
Yep.
Over the next few years, he taught himself new skills. He perfected the ability to throw cards in a hat, demonstrating his high level of natural hand-eye coordination. He developed a way, as we were saying, of throwing dice that reduced the chance of them rolling, so they skidded and came to a rest. And again, we've rolled a ton of dice. That's insane.
It's very hard to do.
That's very hard to do. And almost to the point where, like, you could see somebody when they're doing it, you could be like, oh, they're trying to throw them the right way, and you'd be like, that's not going to work. And then it works.
It's never going to work.
Yeah. But, we were trying to get Tellis off the table because he rolls one at a time. Like, what do
you can't don't do it slow. But it's probably still not going to help you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
it's just being annoying at that. It's not like it's actually a technique.
Roll them. Roll them, don't control them, is what we always say.
What they say though is that it didn't work all the time. Clearly, it's not going to work all the time. But it was enough to give him an edge. And he's already fucking Titanic Thompson. All he needs is a few percentage points over you in the odds department. And so there's no basis for that, but luck is real. Like, some people are just lucky.
Sure.
I really do think that's true.
Ooh,
I agree.
Have you seen the movie Intacto? It's like it's really like early 2000s. It's about this it's a European movie, and they found this underground game where people who are naturally lucky play all these fucking these games of risk, and if you win, if the opponent dies, you gain his luck, and so by the end they're just like running blindfolded through traffic and shit.
Oh my gosh! You can't lose.
It's pretty sick. And Tacto's check that out. That's something I discovered at the pawn shop. So it was like a DVD copy.
That makes sense.
That looks crazy. Yeah,
that lines up.
So but he said he liked the dice trick, because he said he didn't have to load the dice to do it. So it was like I get a little bit of an edge, and there's no risk of getting caught. So in 1916, then he married a 17-year-old. Her name was Nora, and they said he was a good provider but was chronically unfaithful. And after a year, she divorced him. The same year in Pittsburgh, he met a girl named Alice Kane, who kind of was more his speed because he caught her. He met her because he caught her picking his pocket.
Like Cameron Diaz in Games of New York.
Yeah, just a real meet cute. That's honestly that's probably the most romantic thing in his life. But yeah, she was young too. She was 17 years old.
Yeah. Also, he was at this point probably what?
It is 20. Yeah, at that point, he's probably
20s.
fucking ahead of the curve in terms of age gap. Like at that time,
it's better than the average. For those times for sure.
But she was willing to let him go out on the road on his own. So when he was back home, they were like a cool party couple. They'd show up, everybody loved him, but like she'd let him go out on the road alone, and he'd be out there just philandering essentially.
Yeah, well, and it was always about he just wanted to go gamble. Like he never liked being at, like if he was in the same place, he really couldn't get any action because everybody knew him. And
you got to hit the road.
They all knew that he was going to beat them. That's what he does to everybody.
Yeah, they heard your material.
Titanic.
He does not make a wager that he's going to lose on. Like, he just doesn't.
So yeah, he at this point, so he then as history has a tendency of doing, collides with him head on, and he got drafted into the First World War. Because that was, it was right, it was
talk about lucky.
Yeah, there was.
How about some trench warfare?
Being drafted into World War I, one of the unluckiest things that can happen to you. Probably one of the worst wars to be in. I would think. Pretty shitty war to be in.
Oh, but I think he actually did get lucky in this, did he not?
He actually did. He actually did get lucky in that.
I was going to say, well, like one thing that is positive about this is like, you have a bunch of marks with nothing to do when you enlist in the army.
Yeah, that's
with a bunch of other young guys who are fucking rubes from all over the country.
Yeah. They're so dumb.
They're so dumb.
Just a bunch of Forrests and Bubbas out there.
There was Tex, and I don't know where he was from. Here was the luck was.
I bet I can name more shrimp than you.
Yeah. Because this fool was so smart, and this is at a time when like intelligence just kind of, I don't want to say intelligence stood out. People were always smart, but this dude was noticeably intelligent. He didn't get deployed. He stayed stateside, and he ended up training people. And then what he did was he set up, Kath, you called this, he set up a gambling ring at Fort McClellan.
Of course you do. That's exactly what you do. You go, y'all boys bored?
Yeah. Oh, man, you guys don't want
I bet I can throw 52 cards into a hat.
They're enlisted. They're getting paid. They have nothing to spend.
Nothing to spend the money on.
Like they're in fucking war.
Yeah, he's like, I bet I could. I don't know. I'm just. This is off the top of my head. I don't know. Throw 52 cards in a hat. I don't know. Yeah.
Would that be?
Yeah, I'm literally just word salad. I'm just pulling things out of the ether here. Maybe jump over a pool table. That's crazy, right?
Do we have one? Do we have a pool table here?
Oh, it's only a 7-foot one. Ugh, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if I can. Do we have a mattress? We do have mattresses, don't we? Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that
actually. Let's go. So he ended up, they say that he left his stint in the military while never being deployed and walked away with not only his earnings, like his pay and salary, but also $50,000 on top of that. And again, they said $50,000, and this is, I don't know if that was back then money. I don't know if that were
21 money or whatever.
No, that was back then money. 50 G's back then money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he's got like. He's got so much.
He's good.
He's got He's
got more money than all three of us combined, probably right there. Yeah,
I'll
say that.
Yeah. Fucking with his earnings, both legitimate and illegitimate, he went back to Arkansas and he bought his mother a house in Missouri where she had family. And on his way back to Pittsburgh, he got into a card game at St. Louis where he won $40,000.
Boom.
But the dealer
almost doubling.
Yeah, almost double. Just one card game.
One card game.
The dealer tried to set him up to be robbed as he left, but Ty had hired a bodyguard, as was his custom, who was carrying a Luger and a shoulder holster. But Ty shot the two robbers dead. And I read a detail somewhere that they said every time he shot a guy dead, which he's killed one guy with a hammer, the next four are gunshots. And they said in every one he would kneel down and shoot up.
Yes.
Like fucking like the Godfather at the christening when they killed one guy down the steps. Like, yeah, he would kneel down and shoot up. Which
why?
It was a thing of like, all right, I'm about to try to shoot this guy. He's probably about to shoot me. I'm going to just duck and shoot him from lower. And that guy's like, oh, man, he ducked.
People said it could happen, but
no
I doubted
Old West, no Old West standing at different sides of a street.
It's a classic time crisis thing. You know what I mean? Where you hit the pedal and you duck down. Yeah, that's all he was doing.
Man, I didn't try to kill him at a pool hall, and he just dives over a pool table. I'm like, shit. It's like, no, don't kill him at a pool hall.
He did a somersault. Where'd he go?
Yeah. But yeah, so T.I. shot, I said T.I. Ty. T.I. shot the two robbers dead and then scored a multi-platinum hit with Paper Trail.
I think that's also a true statement. Is that not?
I believe it checks out.
I think that actually checks out.
So Ty shot the two robbers dead, and then, rather than run, as his bodyguard suggested, he called the police and told them the story.
Yeah.
He had no permit for his gun, but the two men he had shot were both wanted men, and he left St. Louis with the police chief's thanks.
Yeah. They were like,
That's
hey.
handy.
Yeah. So I kind of at this point he kind of enters like his they talk about when serial killers go crazy, they go in berserker mode. This kind of enters his berserker mode, and I wanted to kind of kick it off to you and cover some of the ones that like these are when people talk about this guy and they tell the stories of Titanic Thompson.
Right.
Like these are the things he would kind of get into.
We haven't even gotten to the stories people tell about this guy yet.
Yeah, no,
That
this
is
is just
how
all
crazy
lead up
his
shit.
life
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the proposition bets he would do. This is not even getting into the golf stuff, but a lot of the things he would do was a big trick he liked to have was, hey, I can throw this peanut
Or walnut.
or walnut or orange onto a 5 or 6 story building roof, and then you look at him and you go, okay, buddy,
Yeah.
go ahead. But then he palms the real peanut, and then he's got one full of lead he's the best rock thrower that's ever existed.
Right.
And he just
Birds
whips
out of the damn sky.
Yeah, and just whips that thing on top of that was one of the things that he got Al Capone with. It was a piece of fruit.
Yeah, it was Al Capone. Yeah, he became homies with Al Capone. They were walking down the street one day, and he goes, "I could." Al Capone was. He's basically told him, "I could throw this lemon over a building," and Al Capone was like, "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard."
Yeah,
and so
do it then, Ty.
Yeah, he did it, and he pulled out another lemon that he had shoved buckshot into to make it heavy.
And this is the preparation. This is the premeditation. Like, I've got a lemon on me that's full of lead. Because I'm hanging out with Al Capone tonight, and I'm about to get his ass.
This dude must have had like the craziest like contents of his pocket.
Oh, his suitcase was wild.
Rock with an axe.
Yeah. Rubber chicken, mattress.
To throw cards into. Yeah, just all this shit.
One of the ones that I thought was incredible was I guess because I want to make sure we get everything in here, so I want to focus on the watermelon truck.
The watermelon truck
and
is good.
the road to Missouri, the road to Joplin sign. So you tell the watermelon truck is one of the ones you told me about the first night we talked about this guy. So hit us with the watermelon truck.
So the watermelon and the road sign one are both ones that he's like, I'm gonna get my friends on this because and they go, Ty's gonna try to do something here, but if it seems like that's impossible, we'll take his action, you know?
Sure.
So
just to see how he's gonna do it.
Yeah. Just we're curious. Like, I'd like to see that happen.
Oh, what, $7,000 is the admission to the show? All right, I'll take it.
And so he's like he's going to meet up with a bunch of his friends, right? And on the way there, he sees a guy in a watermelon truck, and he stops him, right? And this is a guy in the 20s who's got 50 grand on him. And he's just like, hey, let me buy all your watermelons. And the guy was like, huh? He's like, I'll buy all your watermelons, but I need you to do something first. I need you to count them all. Count every single watermelon. And
I mean, he's buying them. He wants to know how many he's getting. Reasonable request.
Count all the watermelons. And he goes, after that, I'm going to need you to drive down this street. And if you do that, I'll buy the watermelons and I'll give all of them back to you. You can keep the watermelons if you do that. And he was like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, this is weird. I'll do that. And then, 30 minutes later, he's sitting on the balcony with his friends. They're hanging out. They're eating, whatever. And Ty goes, looking at the watermelon truck driving by, goes, you know, I used to load those watermelon trucks. I used to be able to. I used to be able to know exactly how many were in there. Like, you know, I could get it real accurate, probably like right on the nose. You know? And then, of course, one of his gambling buddies goes, "Yeah, you want to bet that you can do that?" And he goes,
Sure.
I bet I could do it within I don't know. Let's say within like 5 watermelons. And everybody goes, within 5 it's a whole truck full of them. You know what I mean? Within 5 watermelons, you're going to do that? He goes, yeah. Who's taking action? Let's do it. Let's stop the guy. Let's see how many fucking watermelons are on there.
Let's fucking do this right now.
And yeah. And then he takes everybody's money, and of course, they go, he somehow intercepted the watermelon guy.
Right.
But that was part of it. He loved. That was like it was getting over on your friends a lot of times.
Yeah.
And if there was another dumb dude at the bar that was like, "I'll take that action." No way you're counting all those random watermelons that you have no connection with.
Yeah.
You know?
He's like, I have no imagination. Surely no one else does either. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not a dreamer.
Yeah, and the other one that he did too, which was he used to go out to the driving range when he started playing golf. This was like more closer into his 30s, I think.
It's interesting to think about golf as like a dirtbag gambler.
Yeah, we're not even
Which, like, I know it totally was.
Golfers are dirtbags. They are still. Let me tell you.
I guess they are all like, it is like one of the only sports where you can be like the best in the world at it and be like the most gutter alcoholic at the same time. Like, doesn't affect how good you are at it. Yeah.
And golfers are gamblers. I mean, that's just historically true. They love to gamble. But they used to they would go to the driving range, and it was like, 30 miles outside of the town or whatever. This was in Joplin, I think.
Yeah.
And they had just like put up new, like, probably the first road signs on that road that were like, Joplin's in 20 miles.
We never even thought about this shit before.
Yeah. It was probably one of the first ones that were up like that, on that road. And they're like, he sees it go up, and then they're going back and forth for a couple weeks or whatever. And then one night, he just picks it up. He comes out, digs it up, moves it in a truck 5 miles closer. And then plants. It all looks the same.
Like,
it all looks the same out there. It all looks the same.
Totally, yeah. It's all like flat and but I just like having that idea and then going and doing it is so crazy.
Yeah.
The
like,
premeditation,
it's so many steps away from making money, like it's so innovative to just like see a road sign and then be like, I know how I can make a buck off this. I will dig it up and move it 5 miles.
Yeah.
And then make someone bet on it with you. Like, crazy. And it worked.
Yeah. Also to be like, they're just putting these up. I bet I could make money off of I mean, you would think that's true, but I could make it not true. Yeah. And so he's driving back one day, and he's like, he even lets him see it wrong a couple times. You know what I mean? Yeah. He lets that simmer in. We're like, that's where the fucking sign's at. And then he's like, man, I don't think Joplin's 20 miles from me. I bet it's closer to like 15 or something like that.
I got an eye for this kind of thing. And it's like a line that he would say a lot. I got an eye for this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And so much of
I mean, the thing is, like, he did. Like,
he did. Yeah. He wasn't lying.
I think that, like, part of the reason that this stuff works is, like, he's fucking with people, but he does also have a lot of weird skills. So, like, it isn't completely impossible that a guy who can jump over a pool table, hit birds with stones, like, has, like, incredible hand-eye coordination and accuracy and eyesight and stuff. It's not, like, impossible to think, maybe this guy does know how many watermelons are in here.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
maybe,
well, he's made sure that he does.
Well, what if the guy counted wrong and told him, and he's like, "Oh, buddy, that's actually not correct." There's actually.
Well, that's the thing. He made sure to be like 3 off on the watermelons. You know what I mean? He wasn't, but he said within 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so I guess we kind of got to get into the downward part here, but one thing that's insane is that we haven't got into is that he is possibly one of the best golfers of all time.
Yes.
Like pros,
based on like what we know about his physical abilities, that does not.
He's incredible.
He
was so
he
good.
got into golf and he started betting on golf and he started driving around, going to these places, betting against pros, and he was just straight killing it. And what's insane is that he was born left-handed, so
Yes.
he's naturally left-handed. Taught himself how to play golf right-handed.
Out of just necessity, out of having
to just
right-handed clubs.
Right-handed
in
golf
the,
clubs, yeah.
And then so he would do this thing where he would go and he would bet people on golf games, beat them, and then be like, "Hey, I tell you what," or lose depending on if you want to set him up.
He would lose usually, and he was such a good golfer that he could lose by 1 or 2 strokes.
Yeah, he knew how to
Right,
lose
that
by
much control.
the correct number.
And right-handed.
I read
Yeah.
Andre Agassi's autobiography recently, and he talks about doing that as a kid with tennis because he was like really, really good at tennis really early, and he lived in Vegas, and like his dad like was a dealer
Yeah.
in a casino, like, and he would hustle like adults at tennis by like,
Yeah.
losing by just a little bit or whatever, like seeming bad, and then just smoking them when they put money on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, making
Doubling
his
down.
money
Yeah,
away.
that's what. He would do a double or nothing. He goes double or nothing. I'll play you left-handed. They'd be like, yeah, sure, and
Hell
then he would
yeah.
just fucking smoke 'em.
right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then he would beat the shit out. Well, and that's the thing too. He would only win by 1 or 2 then too, because he wants to play him again. It's always about like
Right,
Oh
keeping
yeah,
him.
yeah. That's nothing. Yeah, because a blowout, the guy's not going to pay again. He would do things where he would hire a pro golfer to pose
or
as
like
his
a
caddy,
young-
or a young up and coming club pro or whatever.
He would scout like young amateur pros, people that their faces weren't really known in the golf world, and then he would like, all right, come, let's go to. He would take a kid on the road. Be like, this is my caddy. I'm down to play you, and then he'd lose, and he's like, and this is like a doubles tournament. He'd have some other guy that's just there playing with him, and he goes, all right, I'll play y'all again, but with my caddy, double or nothing or whatever. And the caddy's crushing it, stuff like that.
Yeah, he's a fucking pro. So this would lead, like, the other one was he learned how to play golf in a wheelchair.
Yes.
And then he would go, man, I bet I could beat you in a wheelchair. And they're like, no, you can't. And he
Had practiced. He had practiced tons of times.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
And it's like, I know how
Again,
to
just like the ingenuity of being like, what are all the different ways I can make money off being pretty good at golf?
Yeah,
I will learn how to do it in a wheelchair. Is like so many degrees from success. Like it's so starting from such a weird indirect thing that like, yeah, of course everyone's gonna be like, of course he didn't learn how to play golf in a wheelchair. That would be crazy. But, like,
Yeah.
Who would do that?
He
Making
spent
money
the
off
time
it.
to do it, and he was just so
Yeah.
good. I mean, he probably would have been the best golfer at the time if he wasn't making,
What he told somebody was like, he's like, I can't go pro. I'd take a pay cut.
the best pro golfers were making like $3,000 a year.
Yeah,
and
this is 30 grand a year, which was still like $500,000 a year. But he was like, I can make 30 grand in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a
Right.
guy who had 50 grand in his pocket when he was like 17.
Yeah.
He
Right.
didn't care.
The best thing, this is the one, is the 500-yard drive.
Oh, this is a good one.
This is where we'll end the golf part and move on to like the winter of his life. But this is incredible.
This is a great thing. So he was at a golf club in Michigan, a country club, and he was like, at the time, pro golfers could maybe hit a ball like 2, maybe almost 300 yards. That was like the most you're getting out of those like hickory wood clubs. And he's like, I bet I can drive a ball 500 yards. And everybody goes,
Bobby Boucher
yeah,
style.
yeah. And everybody goes, okay, Titanic, I know you like to scam everybody and you're doing everything, but sure, I'd love to see you drive a ball 500 yards. He goes, all
Happy
right.
Gilmore style. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Really Happy Gilmore. The titular golfer.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore style.
Sports
Yeah.
movies. Anyway.
I
this is
literally
Happy
in my
Gilmore.
head I said, was Happy Gilmore's name Bobby Boucher? Like,
Happy Gilmore.
Bobby Boucher could probably hit a golf ball too.
He could probably do it.
He could probably do it.
Same movie, just different sport.
Hey, oh, that golf ball's made of Gatorade. Like, wiggity what? He would get real mad.
Yeah, it's gone. But yeah, he the thing about that was he made it kind of like it was like fall-ish time, like summer, fall, and he goes, And everyone gets real perked up at him saying this because it just seems impossible. No one's even hit 400, And so he goes, I'm going to do it, but I get to decide when I do it. I'm not going to do it right now. I will eventually do it. Y'all don't have to give me the money for the bets until I do it. And so what he's done is he's built this long time frame up of everybody at the country club talking about it and putting money on it. And
More people are taking it.
Every time he comes and visits, he talks about it. Every time. And then in December, he goes, all right, it's time. I'm going to do it.
Ready.
I'm about to hit that golf ball 500 yards. And he walks up to the tee box and he's lining up. Everybody's like, no way. It's snowing. You know what I mean? Everything's cold, frozen. And he tees up and then he turns completely 180 and there is the frozen lake right there. And he just sends that and it goes for a mile because it's on ice. And everyone's just here's your money, man. You drove a ball 500 yards.
Yeah, that is just
because you can't really argue with it. You know what I mean?
He did do it. He did meet the terms of his own bet.
If they had said before,
this is a real genie in a bottle wish situation where it's you didn't consider all angles when you made this agreement.
Right. You should have been it had to be off the tee towards that direction. You have to stipulate all those things. Otherwise, I'm hitting on the frozen lake.
Yeah.
So I guess the last thing I want to get into before we talk about his death was that he so Arnold Rothstein, the famed Jewish gangster, who famously fixed the 1918 World Series by paying off the Cubs or the White Sox, paid off the White Sox.
Right.
So he sat down and I don't know all the details of this one in front of me, but he sat down at a poker or at a poker table.
Yeah.
That Titanic Thompson was at. And the guy, he ended up losing $500,000. Arnold Rothstein did.
$475,000.
Yeah, and it was in deep to a bunch of crazy people, but he's also one of the biggest mobsters in the country. So he was like, fuck it, I'll just pay him off IOUs because I just placed essentially a proposition bet on the presidential election.
Yes.
Saying that, and then he was like, so when that pays off, I'll pay all y'all out.
Yeah.
And then it didn't pay off. He guessed it wrong. I believe it was FDR and Herbert Hoover, right?
He actually did guess it right, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think he got shot maybe the day before the election happened.
Yeah. So he gets killed, and everybody's like, "Damn!" Everybody at that poker table is a suspect. And Titanic Thompson got hauled into court to testify, and he just said one of the funniest fucking things, considering all that we've just heard about him. They're like, "What do you do for a living?" And he was like, "I'm a." What was his business?
He said, I run a cafe.
I run a cafe. Yeah.
And they go, that's your only source of income?
Yeah, and he goes, I play a little golf for money.
From time to time.
On occasion.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, and he was actually cleared with any involvement with the case, but that was what won him. That everybody already knew about this guy. But that's what catapulted him and kind of the America knew about him at this point. And this was at a time, this all happened when bank robbers were celebrities because everybody was fucking broke. And it was a time, I wish we could re-enter that phase of American appreciation for crime where everybody was cheering on these fucking bank robbers. I really wish that would come back.
Yeah, they're all wearing suits.
That's what sent him, that's what kind of cemented his legend outside of just a circle of hardcore gamblers. But this whole story, of course, one thing that's cool, he was honored at the first World Series of Poker in Las Vegas, Nevada in 1970. He was one of the hosts. Yeah. Everybody knew. They were like, this is one of the patriarchs of all this
legendary.
Shit. His son, Tommy Thompson, actually ended up getting into gambling as well, became successful.
No. Really?
Yeah, Tommy Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
Became a gambler. Then he gave it up and became a church minister. Yeah. Became a church minister, convincing others to stay away from gambling.
Yeah.
But
he flipped.
Tommy, he lived out the last of his days in a Dallas nursing home, which is what, there was a lot more Texas stuff in there. He's definitely a Texas guy. He was born in Missouri or whatever. But died at a Dallas nursing home, was still going out and playing $50 games at the clubs. And
he was still pitching pennies, trying to throw.
Yeah,
who can throw a penny closest to a line?
Yeah, was still gambling until the fucking day he died. And some nameless associate of his was asked, but this may be apocryphal, but he was asked by a younger man, is Titanic Thompson really dead? And the guy famously said, I hear Titanic Thompson is dead, but I wouldn't put any money on it.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and that is the story of Titanic Thompson. Zach, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Hell
Thanks for
yeah,
having
man.
me.
This was really fun. We're going to have you back in the future. There's still some names we got to cover. You got the Benny Binion, Amarillo Slim.
Amarillo Slim's a good one.
The Texas Crooks with Zac Brooks series will continue. So if you enjoyed it, please tune on back in. That being said, guys, if you're out there, you can find us at LCS Podcast on Twitter. We're at Lie, Cheat, and Steal Podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. Patreon.com/Lie, Cheat, and Steal. And find us on YouTube. I'm on Instagram as @PZTX, and I will be recording my half-hour set at the Velveeta Room on December 1st. So if you're an Austin listener, come on out for that. Kath, you got anything for us?
I have a show if you're in New York City on December 1st at Silo. My monthly show, Paid Protest, is happening that day in Bushwick. So come to that. I'm Kath Barbadoro on Instagram as well. Zach, you got anything to plug?
Gambling. If you
Gambling. Check it out.
look, if you're out there and you have the means to, just put some money on something. Feel alive a little bit.
Great advice.
Try to jump over a pool table.
Yeah. Try it tonight. Get out there. Yeah.
Get out there.
Well, guys, thanks.
We are not responsible if you injure yourself. But
Don't forget the mattress.
yeah. You
have to have the mattress.
Yeah, you gotta have the mattress, dog. Well, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, depending on where you're catching us at here. We're coming to you live from Comedy Frequency, owned by the main man, Josh Cabaza. Thanks for having us, guys. Be safe, be smart, but above all, don't get caught.